Hi guys, thanks for jumping on. Happy New Year. This is our first recording for 2024. How was your break, Ash?
Oh, it was good. I was on call for the Christmas break, so happy to do that role. And yeah, it was not too bad. It was pretty consistent, but wasn't busy, wasn't quiet. How was yours?
Yeah, it was good. Other than the storms on Christmas night that affected up in Queensland, so we'll talk about that a little bit more on the end. But yeah, nice little recharge. So yeah, it was good to have a bit of downtime, which was good.
Excellent. So we are
Yes.
going to go through just a couple of little hot suburbs today. So one for me that I've just noticed this morning is in Perth, we've got people getting back to Merriwa. So Merriwa was an area that was quite busy and consistent about sort of 9 months ago, and it's north of the river. It has quite a nice diversity to it. So we've got some nice new homes. We've got some older homes as well. Things to
Mm,
look out for in that suburb is if you're looking for a 3 by 1, making sure that there's two living areas is really important. But a lot of
okay.
the homes coming up available are 4 by 2s. And they are a good 4 by 2 is sitting at around 650 per week, and an average 4 by 2 around 600 per week. But we're seeing sale prices sitting around that 600,000 for the 4 bedroom, 2 bathrooms. They are
Mm,
really busy. The home opens. I went and did a couple last weekend, and I'm having to park down the street around the corner to actually get to it. So they're very, very
yeah.
hot. And interesting, I went to go do a rental appraisal for one today, and there is no stock for rentals in Merriwa at the moment. So
Wow.
pricing wise, it's from a rental point of view, I think we'll see that go up even further now that the stock level is literally zero
Mm.
as of today.
Yeah, I have a question just out of my own investing curiosity with that. So, because there's hardly any vacancy, do you recommend it might be a good time to do like a granny flat strategy or a strategy on top to create additional supply?
Yeah, so we're not seeing a lot of granny flats in that Merriwa area. We're seeing them more in the south area. The only concern with granny flats at the moment is the costings. So building cost is really expensive in Perth. So if you could do one for, say, 200,000, then you might be all right, because a granny flat value probably would be seeing it around 350 per week.
Yeah.
200,000 for 350 weeks, pretty good. Uh,
Mm,
but if you're paying more than that, I don't think it's actually viable. I actually was consulting with a client the other day who's got an old house and wants to put the granny flat on the back, but it's actually a 4 unit site. So he was just thinking of a quick,
mm,
quick money maker, for example. But I was like, I don't think long term that's the right thing to do, because the house is really crap at the front,
yeah.
and this is definitely a block. You have to bowl it over and do it. But he had the option of putting a granny flat at the very back of the back
Mm,
corner, so that it didn't affect his plans long term to do 3 more units at the front. So that's okay. So I actually think that so many investors went into the Perth market saying, yeah, we can put a granny flat, we can do this, we can do that. And out of all of those people that had that ambition, probably
mm,
two people have done a granny flat. I think because the rents are so good on the main house that they're getting, they haven't felt
mm.
the financial need to do the granny flat because
Yeah.
they're actually doing so well out of the main house.
Something to consider. It's I was looking at the Perth market and I was like, considering the supply, you'd think that more people would do them. But if the in saying that, the end product with a granny flat and like the two dwellings, it really mainly appeals to investors long term. So if you're holding on to it for like growth, you're gonna miss out on that owner occupier market. So,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, my suburb is a little suburb called Eden's Landing. So it's probably about 35, 40 minutes out of the CBD in Logan on the south side. Very owner occupier appealing suburb. So vacancy rates are incredibly low. I think there's like 0.5% vacancy, only 5 or 6 houses for sale in the whole area. And the owner occupier ratio is 70 to 75%. So a lot of owner occupier appeal, and we've seen good growth. You can probably pick up a property like a 3.1 or a 3.2 for under 650. And that will rent for high fives, mid fours, high fives, mid sixes. But in terms of long-term growth, I'm suggesting the suburb because it's got a lot of owner occupier appeal and a lot of views and things like that. So yeah, that's one I've been getting a lot of inquiries on over the last couple of weeks.
Excellent. So talk to me about the insurance claims. In WA, we don't actually get a lot of insurance claims. Like we get the odd one through here and there, but not like you guys. So talk us through.
Yeah. Well, so much for the Sunshine State. It's been raining nonstop for the last 2 months over here. Yeah, we get very few days in between, lots of summer storms. So on Christmas night, there was this huge storm event that affected the Gold Coast, parts of Logan, and yeah, mainly just the Gold Coast and Logan. And it was 200-kilometer winds going through there. So many properties lost power. But I was just saying before we jumped on, I've got about 8 or 9 insurance claims. So yeah, as a property manager, your property manager can lodge it on your behalf, or you can lodge it yourself when there's a catastrophe. What's your feedback, Ash, on who should lodge the claim? What's the best route from your experience?
Yeah, I couldn't actually even give you consistent data with regards to whether an owner does it or we do. I think majority of claims we do because the owners asked us to do it and we would do it for them. I would never say no to doing a claim. So yeah, if I was asked, absolutely, that's definitely something that can be done. However, I think a lot of communication can get missed when a property manager is trying to do an insurance claim amongst the rest of their duties that they have to do. And insurance, you've got to stay on top of it. And I won't lie, it is, I do think it's slower if you get us to do it, as opposed to you, the owner, being on top of it, because that's you can imagine if you're an owner and you've got 10 insurance claims to make, that's going to keep you busy. Well, that's property manager's life on top of everything else they've got to do. And not saying that a landlord's not doing anything else, but they would only really have one insurance claim at a time personally to deal with. So yeah, I think that definitely having a middleman, which is a property manager, involved in insurance claims is not going to be as swift as what you would do doing it yourself. So yes, if I'm asked, we'll do it. But if an owner says, would you like us to do it? Absolutely, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Landlord.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to see it from the insurance perspective. Like those claims managers, their purpose is to decline claims and find any excuse to not pay out. So having, I think tenancy related, like insurance claims for warrants and arrears and damages, property manager. But for the building ones, when they get heavy and when there's, the worst thing happens, can be beneficial for, yeah, either the owner to be following up as well, or for them to take over the claim and just update your property manager. So
and it's a good thing that you mentioned that their job is to decline claims, because I've just had a personal experience with a building claim which got declined 3 times, and we finally got the bigger people involved and got it paid out to us, which was great. But I was actually okay with it because I work in property, so it didn't stress me out. But my partner, who I made handle the insurance, it really it was very high anxiety for him. It was really stressing him out, and I think the question would come, and it's a very interesting one: if the insurance decline, then is that overstepping a property manager's duties, having to step in and fight for this claim to be done? Or is that the owner's responsibility? Because that's a big ask on a property manager to go to that level. And there's a very high chance that it could get declined.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting because it is very time consuming. And yeah, I would suggest, depends on the case of the claim. But I think an owner should pursue that if it does get declined, because there's a lot of work involved to get that over the line. And yeah, it's
And obviously, we're talking about insurance from a, like you said, a building insurance
Building.
claim. And yeah,
Yeah.
this is not for landlord claims. Landlord claims, property manager's responsibility, tenant, for default. They've got all the records. They know
Yeah.
how to do that. They should be the ones doing it. I don't believe in an owner having to do their tenant landlord default claim.
No, me as well. And even more reason to have specialized landlord insurance like Terry Shear or EBM or one of the other ones, because it is easy for us. Like for us to do a Terry Shear claim, it's not as time consuming, but to do a building claim, they are very much intentionally difficult to lodge the claim. And then there is a lot of steps in place to intentionally drag out the process. So someone has to be, pretty onto it, constantly chasing them.
Yeah. Now, this is completely, but we'll just keep on recording this. This is not landlord related, but this is like real estate industry related. I
Yeah.
don't know where I heard this from, whether it was from doing some, like when I went and looked at some offices in the over in the US, or if it was local, but there is something that could change in our industry, and that is where you potentially pay, like the property managers have an insurance broker. So basically, let's say landlord insurance is $350 per year, but let's say that I said to my landlords, we go through a broker for insurance, so the premium is going to be $400 per year. Okay, so you pay a little bit of extra, but when there's a claim, the broker
Ah.
handles that, because that's what they
Mm.
specialize in. So it takes the responsibility from the property manager, it takes it from the landlord, and there's a specialized insurance broker who handles it all. So you pay a little bit of a high premium.
Oh.
And how good would that be?
I would love that. I would honestly, I'd pay the $40 myself just to avoid that, because you could just guarantee that someone specialized who does that every day is going to get better results than potentially a property manager or a landlord. So I think something like that, if it's a small premium on top, absolutely, because the chances of getting the claim accepted and paid out quicker is probably a lot higher.
Yeah, totally. And they fight for you.
Mm.
They go in to argue. So something's to be said for anyone listening that has maybe a network or an idea. Please let Jackie and I
Do
know.
it.
I
Yeah.
think that can change in our industry.
Yes.
This is again not investor related if you're listening, but just an interesting topic. But not only have you got the insurance brokers, but over in the US, that when they have tenants that default,
Mm.
they actually have, it goes to a lawyer. So a landlord pays a lawyer, and I think it's a fixed amount because it's so common, $700, $1,000, something like that. So your tenant's in arrears, you appoint the lawyer, $1,000 to them, and they handle the rest. They handle the lodging of the court application, they go to court eviction, and all of those notices.
Oh.
And I find it really interesting how it works there compared to here, because a property manager is expected to be an expert in everything. They're expected to be an expert in obviously managing a property, but then tax depreciation, court and legal responsibilities. Now we're expected to be an expert when it comes to insurance claims. You know what I mean? It's
Oh, for sure. I love the idea of that. Like many, because obviously our business is in Logan and there's a lot of low socioeconomic areas and the arrears is probably higher than other areas. And oh, that would be amazing to outsource that, because it's incredibly stressful and it does take its toll on a property manager. Like I start to get very emotional about it on the owner's behalf, and then you have to step back and say, well, it's out of our control. We've done everything that we can do, but to have yeah, the US, they have some good ideas. Some more innovation in our industry would be great.
Yeah. So that's what goes through property managers' brains, these ideas and things like that, if you're a landlord listening.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of room for improvement, I think.
Absolutely. All right, Jackie, good to see you. Thanks for
Good to see
the
you.
suburb tips, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, Ash. Bye.